I'm Susan Knight. I'm hail from Newfoundland and Labrador in Canada, and I'm going to talk to you this afternoon about something that's a great interest but also a passion in my life that I discovered fairly late in my life. I'm going to talk to you about what happened to adults who were rejected from choir or from singing ensembles when they were children, and so have not had the opportunity to experience the transformative power of choral singing. And I chose the title The Elephant in the Choral Room because the phenomenon of adults not singing is widespread, very common in our society, but it isn't talked about very much at all. And it's certainly not talked about very much in research yet, and it's not talked about nearly enough in singing pedagogy, in teacher training, or in music education in the schools. So I'm going to start telling you a little bit about why I came into this subject. And this is my mother as a little girl, and when she was dying and I was helping to look after her at home, she was afraid of hospitals. She made a disclosure to me one afternoon. My dad was already dead. And she said to me that she had one great regret in her life, and that she'd been a musical mute in a house full of birds, because there were she had 5 birds, my brothers and my sister. And we all sang, and we never heard her sing. She never sang to any of us, never sang with anyone, and we never sang as a family, which is an oddity in Newfoundland, let me tell you, because my father didn't want her to be embarrassed or feel left out. So we never sang as a family. And so anyway, that afternoon when she made that disclosure, I said, "Would you like to learn to sing, Mommy?" And she thought this was hilarious. Now, at this point, she was down to about 90 pounds and on morphine every 2 hours. So she was really in the terminal stages. But I did teach her to sing. We took maybe 15 or 20 minutes, 2 afternoons in a row. That's all it took. She found her head voice, where she found then she could match pitch. And it was an extraordinary feeling for both of us. And but I'll tell you a little bit more about it. She was 7 at school when her music teacher, told her to mouth the words and not to make any sound. And yet she was constrained to stay in the choir. So she mouthed the words, so she had, of course, to learn the words, but she wasn't allowed to sing. And this happened till she was 12 years old, so that's a lot of time. And it left a very deep scar in her, which, as I say, she disclosed to me at the end. So before we go any further, I just want to clarify when we say non-singer, that's referred to often in society. So a non-singer could be someone who just simply chooses not to sing out of, disinterest, and they just say, "Oh, I'm not a singer." Could be somebody who declares they cannot sing when what they really mean is, "I can't sing well enough for you to hear me sing by myself." And then there's those who say, "Well, no, I'm not a singer," because they don't sing professionally, and therefore they're not a singer. But the one I want to really focus on this afternoon is those who feel they believe they are innately incapable of learning to sing. So this is one of the people that I worked with after Mommy died, because she died not very long after she learned to sing. I determined to do something about it, and I started not really knowing how, just needed to be done. And I started a program called So You Always Wanted to Sing at our local university in their lifelong learning division. And this woman was one of the people who came to that class, and she'll tell you a little bit about herself.
Hello, my name is Anne. I am a mother, a wife, an anesthesiologist, a department head, a hiker, a quilter, and a singer.
And she had a similar story to my mum. She was silenced at school when she was 7. only she said that her Methodist mother told her to sing out loud anyway. But she did not do that. And so she'll carry on telling you a few other things.
Dear, perhaps you should
Oh, yes. This is her telling me how the nun spoke to her. It was a nun.
Pantomime. I don't think you need to let any sound come out. Just move your lips. And so perhaps 10% of each class became pantomimers, and I was one of them. About the time of my 40th birthday, I saw an advertisement in a journal for a class offered at the university by Dr. Knight, and the title was Always Wanted to Sing, Can't Carry a Tune. So the course was obviously designed for me, because clearly I wanted to sing and I could not carry a tune. So even though I was run off my feet at home and at work, I signed up for the course and attended the first class. With some fear and trepidation, but I honestly thought it would be worthwhile. And it was. Within 1 hour, I had discovered my head voice, realized that I could control the pitch of that voice, and then subsequently found that lower sounds could be produced and controlled with a little more difficulty, but not bad results. My goal for that course was to sing a Christmas carol for the class, and before the course was finished, I did sing Silent Night. For me, it was a triumph. I think Susan unleashed a monster. I started to sing. I sang in the car. I sang when I was walking. I sang in church. I sang at home. I sang at work. I even sang when I was called into work at 2 a.m. Now that's sick. I don't do that anymore. I sang Bowser and Blues, working where the sun don't shine, with 4 of my colleagues at a fundraiser for the hospital. There were 4 of us dressed in tuxedos, being directed by the colorectal surgeon with a sigmoidoscope. Perhaps you know the song? We praise the colorectal surgeon, misunderstood and much maligned. We're going to stop there. Now, more than 15 years after my singing class, I still feel exhilarated at being able to sing. I've been given a voice and am liberated by it, in the same way that other disenfranchised people must feel liberated when they have finally spoken out and been recognized. I feel whole.
The Singing Neighborhood. I got the mission to serve as the choral director when the TV series The Singing Neighborhood was recorded on the fall of 2011. 6 episodes were broadcasted on Swedish television in the spring of 2012. The series takes place in Malmö in Lindängen, a working class area, high in unemployment and with much ethnic diversity. The series tells first and foremost the story of the development of these adult rookies in choral singing and their meeting with each other and with classical music. Many voice competitions in TV focus on voting people out. They get sad, and one is left to win alone. In this choral project, the purpose is to make the choir reach their goal together. In just 13 weeks, to be able to sing a classical work with the symphony orchestra. To build up, create community, energize people, I wanted to do this work. What happened? The people I met were extremely brave, auditioning to me in front of cameras. Most important is what happens inside people when they work with beautiful and magnificent music. An artistic experience can enrich life and strengthen and increase participation in community. Family members feel proud when their neighborhood is portrayed in a positive way, not connected to criminality and social problems. A bond is created between choir and audience. People get new energy and pleasure. Very often, privileged people participate in successful choirs. On the other end of society, people have far more limited access to cultural activities, let alone voice discipline and choral traditions. This project attempted to bridge this gap. And at last, I want to show you a short selection, 2 minutes, of clips from this series.
Glass stadens harmoni, spelar i stadsnäts symfoni. Bjuder ner vacations, har jag bott med mina medmänniskor i alla åldrar. Lever i gemenskap och mångfald, kämpar så gott det går. När vi strävar mot gemensamma mål, alla är vi olika men ändå så lika. Tacksam i hjärtat är vi berikade.
Tack. Titta på mig. Starta samtidigt. I hope you'll be able to see the English subtitles there. Could be hard to see.
I'm not a musician at all, you already got that, and I'm also not a doctor in medicine at all. When he was speaking about the influence of choral music on asthmatic people, more or less it was logical to me, I accept that. When he was speaking about the influence of choral music on HIV-positive people, that was a bit strange to me because I did not see the relationship between opening your lungs or producing sound and the situation of those people. But then he explained that they could measure the difference in mood and emotional strength to cope with the situation, etc. And then I understood, singing is good for you, singing is good for physiologically for you, and it's also good psychologically for you. I came back from those 2 conferences and I shared that with my colleagues, and then one of my colleagues said, well, we have to do something with that type of things, because we are combining in our brain, broadening the scope of choral music, and singing is good for you. And within a few days, we crafted a vision. And the vision, which is still the vision of the ARIA Foundation, is in 30 years, so 30 years, within the span of 1 generation, hundreds of millions of people will have trained their voices and will be singing together. So it's of course very nice to have a vision. Music was not our business. So from that very high vision, we came directly back on the ground and we wonder, fine, we have a vision, what are we doing with this? And the first thing we knew is that we are not competent to teach anyone to sing. We have none of this. So we will go and meet them, all of you, who are in this singing business, or doctor in medicine, or people dealing with prisoners, etc., to understand what is missing for them. Because if we want to contribute to that vision, the only thing we can do is contribute to the people already working in the field for so many years. And that's what we came with. Because interviewing people mainly in 3 countries, Brazil, Germany, and England, we found out that they were missing, all of them, one thing. And then we decided, okay, if you're missing this, that's what we have to do, like a kind of duty, if you want. And they told us that they were missing the argument about singing. They were missing a scientific base to say to a director of a prison, some politician responsible for a curriculum in primary school, the principal of a secondary school, or parents, or even people themselves, why they should sing. So there was no scientific base in the advocacy for singing. Every one of us here in this room are convinced that singing is good, but believe me, this conviction is really not enough to convince others that singing should be good for our communities and for the people. So here we were, at least with a mission, and the mission has been given to us by all of you and many more. So we had to bridge the long journey between science and advocacy. And helped by different scientists, we found out one methodology to do so. And this is basically what you have there. I'm not too sure it's readable, but we start by using 4 different sciences: medicine, neuroscience, physics, and social science, and we analyze singing. And we will produce 5 so-called scientific reviews. A scientific review is a scientific work, which means it has to be performed according to very strict academic criteria and scientific criteria. For example, one that we could use are the technique of the Cochrane reviews. When we will have those 5 scientific reviews dealing with different domains of the study of singing, we will be able to create 2 next steps, 2 next blocks of document. One about the benefit of singing for the individual, and the other one blending the 5 scientific reviews with the best knowledge around the effectiveness of teaching and learning. We would be able to produce something around the how to teach and how to learn singing effectively, which means what to teach and what to learn. It does not mean how to teach and how to learn. So that's a major distinction. So far, so good, you would say, but it's not yet enough, because the government is not very interested to your happiness, you individually or us here. The government is mainly interested in the happiness, if you want, of the community. So if the community gets a benefit from singing, they will probably put some part to reintroduce singing in kindergarten, primary school, secondary school. The path between the benefit for singing for the individual and the benefit for singing for the community is a very difficult one, because we need to work with what is called cultural economists. And if you want, they need to translate all the wonderful things that you see here today and you will see tomorrow. So, for example, singing in prison, singing with people who are challenged mentally or physically, etc. You need to be able to measure all of that and to bring the impact on the community. So if people would sing more and more in primary school and secondary school, would we have a decrease in crime? And if the decrease in crime is 1%, what is the impact for the government? So only that type of things will persuade them, and that is also an important job. The job of we created a foundation around this, and the job of the foundation is to produce that type of advocacy document and then to make them free for the world, free, downloadable for any type of PC, or Macintosh, of course, and then people do with that whatever they want. So that is the basic, if you want, approach, scientific approach.